Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and it is time for another Daily Diddy, bringing you daily trial updates on the P. Diddy case all the way through until we get a verdict. So today is possibly the last day of cross-examination for Cassie. Now, she has been on the stand for the majority of this week. The defense had been struggling to kind of find a rhythm, but it seems that things are gelling a little bit more for them today. So first off, Cassie was shown a video that Diddy sent her while she was in rehab, where he basically was like, have a beautiful day, this and that. And he's walking down the beach and he's like, I'm growing, I'm healing, and all of this, right? So of course the defense is trying to spin that as, oh, see, he's a good person. It wasn't always so bad. But at the same token, she's on drugs because you introduced them to her and she was in rehab. So why are you bothering her? To me, it smacks of continuing control. Cassie also read a text message from March 9th, 2016, where she was basically going after him because this was in the wake of the horrible, brutal tape that we saw, the beating that occurred at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. So she said, when you get effed up the wrong way, you always want to show me you have the power to knock me around. I'm not a rag doll, I'm someone's child. So of course the defense is trying to spin that as, she had agency, she could have walked away at any point in time. And, that again, she's communicating back and forth. But again, on the flip side, she's like, don't hit me. So, yeah, I don't know if it's going to give the impression that the defense hopes. Also, she talked about how anytime Diddy got pissed at her, he would take her phone, take her car, take her watch, anything to be able to deprive her of contact and to punish her. Again, part of the cycle of domestic. The defense also brought up a text from 2010 where Cassie, in the communications back and forth with Diddy, had basically asked if a woman could be part of the freak off versus a man. So again, the defense is using that to say, hey, she was a consensual participant, she's offering ideas and all of that. Yeah, I'm not going to front. That doesn't look particularly great. But also at the same token, when you're thinking about the totality of the circumstances, could it be that she's trying to make the best out of a bad situation and was like, I'm tired of these dudes running through me. Maybe with a woman, it'll be less painful. I don't know. That's going to be on the prosecution to have to argue that. Also, very disturbingly, she talked about how Diddy had raped her and that she had consensual sex one last time with him after he raped her. Again, something that doesn't look particularly great, but from a psychological perspective, it's not unusual. So to dig a little bit more on the timeline around that, remember, this was back when, around 2018, when they had broken up. Diddy had requested to have dinner with her one last time, like as a closure type deal. She went, she thought everything was fine. He took her back to her house and then he forced his way into the house and sexually assaulted her. She was already dating Alex Fine, who then later on became her husband in 2019. When she told Alex Fine that Diddy had raped her, Alex Fine punched a hole through the wall, obviously, because he was mad. Now, the consensual sexual encounter happened after that assault. So it was sometime in the days, weeks after that. Again, I say from a psychological perspective, not incredibly unusual because remember, this is a domestic violence relationship. So there's good days, there's bad days, there's beatings, there's sexual assault, but then there's also, it's just like, it's complicated, it's sake, but so again, that last bit is going to be problematic for the prosecution. They're likely going to need to bring on an expert in domestic violence to kind of break that down for the jury so that they can understand sort of the patterns and behaviors that, again, the average person will be like, hell no, I wouldn't do this. But when you're in that very twisted domestic violence relationship, norms and logic completely go out the window. Let's just be very clear on that. Now, Diddy has been very, very active and involved in the cross-examination of Cassie. He's been collaborating with his attorneys, scribbling notes and all that kind of thing. So again, he's like super involved in this. Now, the judge is hella pissed because the judge has been saying this needs to wrap up. She can go into labor at any minute. We've got to keep this moving. And so he's told the defense they have 3 hours to finish cross-examination to give the prosecution time to do redirect and then a recross and get her off the stand completely by the end of today. Now, there's a narrative kind of floating around, especially in defense circles, like this is on the prosecution. Why did they have to call a pregnant witness? Blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, but let's not forget here. The judge was very hardcore about the trial date. He was like, it was going to start when it started. He was not going to accept continuances. So the prosecution was kind of stuck. And again, this is their star witness. So they could either ask for a continuance, which the judge was probably not going to grant, a continuance being a reset to have the trial on another day in a few months, weeks, whatever later. But again, now, even if you pushed it off, she could still have the child, and then, she may want 2-3 months to chill, heal, be with her child. So there's that. Now, remember, the Constitution guarantees the defendant the right to confront his accusers. So in this instance, the defense absolutely has to cross her, but the judge can set guardrails as to how long that can take. So wrapping up for today, for the weekend, it looks like Cassie's testimony is going to finish today and she'll be off the stand. It looks like on Monday, we're going to hear from another survivor, one of the members from Danity Kane. So that's going to be interesting. I also want to give a quick PSA. If you're someone who has survived sexual assault or domestic violence, this could be hella triggering for you. So please do what you need to do to make sure that you are okay and that you're healing. If it means stay off social media and not watch my videos, cool. I'd rather you be okay and not be triggered and walking around with, more pain than, hey, I want to get more likes, right? So I really want people to center that. So if that means stay off socials, if it means go to the spa, if it means not watch anything on this case, do what you need to do to feel okay. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I got something for the guys too. Hold that thought. So there's some men out here on socials and some chicks that are like, pick me, and kind of, feeding into this whole thing of, Cassie's trash. She shouldn't have stayed, or, because she did stay, she must have liked it, all of this. And, and even joking about the video where she was brutalized and things like that. Listen, guys, and those chicks, okay? All of you know somebody who has been sexually assaulted or was in a domestic violence relationship. They just may not have told you. And so now, with you spouting all that foolishness, people know that they can't come to you for safety. They know that they can't come to you for support. Imagine your daughter, your niece, the young women in your life that are seeing and hearing you say this stuff. If they get assaulted, they're not going to come to you. And you're going to feel really crappy when you find out that someone close to you is involved. So watch your neck. Just saying.